Hey there, and welcome to Workforce Pulse, the podcast for recruitment and staffing founders who are ready to grow, scale, and shake up the industry. I'm your host, Kirutika Munusamy, and I'm so glad you're here. This is where we have real, no nonsense conversation about what it takes to build a thriving business in recruitment and staffing. Forget the fluff. We're all about strategies that actually work, shared by the people who've been there and done it. A quick shout out to our sponsor, Ambrosial Automations. At Ambrosial Automations, we are your behind the scene growth partners. We help recruitment and staffing businesses streamline their operations, bring in quality leads, boost sales, and scale, all without the risky upfront cost. So we work on a revenue share model, so we don't succeed unless you do. If you're curious about how it works, head over to ambrosialautomations.com for a free 12-month growth plan that is tailored just for you. All right, let's dive in. Joining us is Ariel, the CEO and founder of ABS Staffing Solutions. With a background in psychology and social work, Ariel's journey into the world of staffing is anything but conventional. Before launching her successful boutique recruitment firm, she spent years as an employee assistance program counselor, working with Fortune 500 companies to enhance workplace well-being. Ariel, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
The pleasure is all ours. So, Ariel, tell us more about yourself, your background, and the role within ABS Staffing Solutions.
Sure. So as you mentioned, I got into recruiting in a unconventional way. It was never even on my radar, to be totally honest. And basically what happened was I had a private practice in psychotherapy and was working with employees of Fortune 500 companies and kind of was looking for something to supplement. And I went to a staffing firm with the prospect of getting kind of a part-time job, not within an agency, but just in something to balance out my private practice. And while I was in the waiting room, the owner of the company approached me and he said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Obviously looking for a job." And he said, "Come with me." And he brought me to the conference room and he looked at my resume and he's like, "Would you be interested in working here?" And I was like, I don't even know what that would entail. And he gave me more insight and he offered me a base salary and commission and said, he needed an answer within 48 hours. And one of my best friends from high school at the time was a recruiter. And I called her as soon as I left and I said, "What do you think?" I wasn't even something I was, thinking about. And she's like, "Go for it. Why not?" She's like, "You love helping people and there's really no downside, and try it out, see how you feel." So I accepted the job and I still was doing private practice. And it, honestly, it was a tough adjustment because I had never been in such a fast paced, kind of sales oriented environment. And it was also competitive. And, at first it was, scary and overwhelming, but then I kind of found my groove and really enjoyed it. But when I was working for someone else, I wasn't able to kind of delve in and get to know people and cultivate relationships the way I wanted to. And after working for that other company for 9 years, I realized, you know what, I was looking at other firms to go to, and realized if I'm going to have to start over, then I might as well start for myself. And little did I know all of the back office things that it entails, but there were too many things that I wanted to do differently that no other firm that I was interviewing at was doing. And so I basically, in 2013, quit my job, started and formed my LLC, went to a WeWork office, and some of the other people I had been working with joined me, and the rest is history.
Got it. So, what are the big trends that you're seeing in the industry right now?
A lot is changing, especially, COVID had a big impact, right? So prior to COVID, everyone went into an office 5 days a week. It wasn't even thought that you wouldn't do that. So then we
Mm-hmm.
have COVID, and then it was a gradual, people going back, a lot of people still hybrid or working remotely. And now, is the really beginning of you're seeing more of a push to have people more in the office,
Yeah.
more consistently. JP Morgan announced this year that they want everyone in the office, back in the office
Okay.
5 days a week. And it's interesting to see the pushback, or how many people, really got used to having that flexibility and really are not willing to be in an office anymore five
Yeah.
days a week. So that's definitely a big trend. And obviously, the changes with AI and how that is impacting all industries is one that we're constantly, adapting and evolving. And, like everything, I think you need to stay current and,
Mm-hmm.
be on top of your game and know, you know, kind of try to be a few steps ahead and stay current and know what's happening and how you can always have some room to pivot.
Yeah, got it. So, among those trends, you mentioned AI, right? So, how exactly are you? Do you have any experience or examples to share with our audience where you saw AI in work and you were happy about it or were not happy about it?
So, I mean, I think there's a lot of positive things that it can do in terms of, multiple industries, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of things are still being cultivated, and I'm reading and seeing constantly how, with certain, you know, figuring out, how they can replace jobs, right? And how they can automate things.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a balance. And I think that, it's scary for
Mm-hmm.
some people. And, there are a lot of jobs that, are being replaced because of it. And so I think you need to figure out, like, what are the skills that I have that AI couldn't replace. And one of them, especially for me, is about building relationships and connections and
Yes.
feelings, right? And really getting to know my candidates and clients, because AI is not going to do that. You're not going to have this rapport with, something that's automated. And yes,
Yeah.
it can help, let's say in legal, like it can read a document and give you a summation of a report or help with discovery, right? But there's certain things I feel that, you know, having that connection and building a rapport and trust is not something that you can ever have with a computer or a software system.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So, are there any big challenges that you're seeing for ABS staffing solutions?
I mean, I think that there's, this constant, and there has been this fear of a recession, right? And so that impacts people's desire to make a move, because typically when companies downsize, the first people to be let go are the ones newly hired.
Yeah.
So there's that, because people, you know, might want to move, but then the more they think about it, and then they get nervous. In addition, companies have not been hiring as much
Mm-hmm.
as, right after the pandemic, there was a boom
Yeah.
and everyone was hiring. And then it just kind of, has slowed and is definitely been on the slower side.
Mm-hmm.
But I think people are also taking their time and are a lot more thoughtful on both fronts, clients and candidates,
Yeah.
and, you know, it was after the pandemic, really, the candidates were in the driver's seat because
Mm-hmm.
companies really needed people, right?
Yeah.
And now it's kind of evened out, where it's not as slanted one side or another, where both
Mm-hmm.
sides are kind of, equal. And, the other thing in New York State that's happened is the Salary Transparency Act. And so what that has impacted is, any job posting, a company has to reveal what the salary is for that
Yeah.
job. And that makes it really challenging because let's say they need to attract new talent and they have to up the salary. Now, suddenly, people that are already within the company, maybe who aren't making as much, are seeing these jobs being posted and they're like, hello, why are these people now getting so much more money? So now companies have to make adjustments across the board in order to keep people happy.
Yeah.
And another thing is that then that skews what people deem as how much they want for a job, even if they have no experience. They're like, well, I saw the posting, it's a range of, you know, 85 to 150. So that's like how companies try to cover their bases to give a range. But then a candidate is like, well, I want 150, right? If there's a
Yeah.
range, then I want the top. And I'm like, but you have no experience. They're like,
Mm-hmm.
but that's what the posting is. So that's what I'm looking for. And then the other thing is with the pandemic, unlimited PTO was like a big term that people were providing,
Yeah.
even though in reality, if anyone was to really take advantage of that, they would not have a job because you're never working. But
Yeah.
people got accustomed to that. So when they have any sort of restrictions on PTO, they're like, oh, but I'm used to having unlimited PTO. And I was like, but do you really realize like that's not really realistic. No one has unlimited time off,
Yeah.
and gets paid to not work.
Yeah.
So managing expectations in that way as well.
Yeah. And are there any efforts that is being done from your side, ABS Staffing Solutions side, to tackle these challenges?
You know, we are pivoting and also now with doing some more kind of coaching and helping candidates with their resumes and with the interview process, even if it's not directly through a job for us. So I've realized that so many people lack the understanding, the skills. The whole process can be so overwhelming and daunting. And, because I have so much years of experience, it's really an area that I can use my knowledge and help people and ease that stress and anxiety and build confidence.
Yeah.
And, that makes a huge difference for people, and everything from what to wear to, tailoring your resume to specific jobs, things like that.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Are there any big initiatives ABS Staffing Solution is working on at the moment?
Just, constantly staying current, figuring out, what the trends are, how we can adapt and make sure that, we're still visible and, differentiating ourselves in the market because there's always a lot of competition and,
Right.
just having a presence, doing things like this, making our brand known across, different platforms.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So, are there any big opportunities that lie ahead for you this year in terms of whether you're trying to pivot, like you mentioned, or whether you're expanding into any other sector, any other industry, or whether you're going international or government contracts? There could be anything, any opportunities that you feel are ahead and that are going to come this year for ABS Solutions.
You know, I never know what will lie ahead, but one thing I'm personally working on is writing a book talking about the parallels between dating and interviewing.
Okay.
And again, just helping people on that front because that's something a little more controlled where, like, in terms of getting clients that need to hire, that can fluctuate. And I don't have as much control over that. But this other stuff with candidates is a little bit more, concrete and tangible and something I feel like I can have a direct impact on and something to balance out, when hiring processes slow down.
Okay. Got it. So tell us more about the priorities and goals that you have set for 2025.
Well, I've in the past done a lot of, especially during COVID, more temporary hires, which the positives to that are their instant gratification. It happens quickly, but
Yeah.
there's a lot more risk involved. And you have all these people on your payroll, which is good and bad. So really, my focus so now is wanting to do more direct hire and trying to do more retained searches and things that, you know, are more kind of selective and they might take longer, but ultimately it's a more kind of rewarding, gratifying process because you're really sourcing and getting to know candidates and having them go through a more in-depth process.
Yeah.
And for me at this juncture is kind of more the direction I'm looking to be in.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so what is ABS Staffing Solutions' vision for next 2 to 3 years? I know that you said you really don't know where even this year's opportunities are headed.
I mean,
I,
yeah.
but I would like for our audience to know the vision you have for your company for the next 2 to 3 years.
I'm always looking to grow.
Mm-hmm.
I opted not to pigeonhole myself into one sector, so
Mm-hmm.
that gives me a lot of flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
So, being able to constantly, figure out where the needs are, obviously always looking to attract and get new talent and new clients, but also, maintaining, and I'm a big person of maintaining quality over quantity. So I'd
Okay.
rather have just, really solid clients that I know that we have that relationship and and help them continue to grow and simultaneously, I'm growing. So there's a real synergy and partnership there.
Got it. Got it. So it was overall a very insightful session with you today. And so that's a wrap for today's episode of Workforce Plus. Huge thanks to our guest Ariel for sharing her incredible insights on all the topics that she touched. Now, before we go, Ariel, where can people find you if they want to connect or learn more about your work?
Of course. So we're online at www.absstaffingsolutions.com. So A as in apple, B as in boy, SSTAFFING solutions.com.
Yeah. Perfect, perfect. So make sure you check out ABS Staffing Solutions website. To our listeners, if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, or share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. And one more time, if you're stuck in the grind of manual processes or struggling to grow, we can help you optimize operations, bring in leads that convert, boost sales, and scale without the upfront risk. Head over to ambrosialautomations.com to get your free custom 12-month growth plan. All right, that's it for today. Thanks again, Ariel. Thank you,
Thanks for
everyone, for
having
tuning.
me.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Let's build, grow, and keep the workforce pulse alive. See you next time.